Before I learned to fly, I could never understand a word when my friends would talk about engines. If that's exactly how you feel, you're in luck. This lesson will cover aircraft systems and flight instruments, starting with the engine. Most general aviation aircraft power plants are reciprocating engines, named for the back and forth motion in the cylinders. In single-engine aircraft, the engine is usually mounted to the fuselage. On the outside of the engine, you will notice the cylinders attached to the engine block, or the body of the engine. The number of cylinders attached to the engine influences how much power the engine will create. In this example, you can see the 4 cylinders are arranged horizontally. This arrangement of the cylinders is described as being horizontally opposed. Inside the cylinder is the piston. This is where all the magic happens. Think of the piston as a sort of plunger that pulls and pushes air into and out of the engine. The piston is connected to the crankshaft of the engine. When the piston moves inside the cylinder, it provides power to turn the crankshaft. As the crankshaft is rotated, it spins the propeller, which is directly connected to the crankshaft. For the engine to work, we need 3 things: fuel, air, and a spark to light it. Just like you and me, the engine needs to breathe. The engine gets its air through an air filter normally located on the front or side of the engine cowling. When the engine takes in this air, it's called induction. As the air travels through the induction system, it gets mixed with fuel before it goes to the engine. This fuel-air mixture enters the engine through the intake valve, is compressed by the piston, and then ignited by the spark plug. When the fuel-air mixture is ignited, the gases expand, forcing the piston down. This creates the power for the engine. After this, the piston forces the exhaust out of the cylinder through the exhaust valve, and the process starts over. The process that I just described is that of a 4-stroke engine. Each of the 4 strokes has a name. The first stroke is the intake stroke. During the intake stroke, the fuel-air mixture is drawn into the engine. Note the downward movement of the piston, creating a vacuum for the fuel-air mixture to be drawn into. The second stroke is called the compression stroke. This is when the piston is forced up by the crankshaft and the fuel-air mixture is compressed. The third stroke is the power stroke. During the power stroke, the fuel-air mixture is ignited. When this happens, the gases inside the cylinder expand, forcing the piston down. As the piston moves down, it moves the crankshaft, powering the propeller. The final stroke is the exhaust stroke. As the piston is again forced upward by the crankshaft, the exhaust valve opens and the exhaust gases leave the engine. In order to keep the engine running, each cylinder is performing a different stroke, but one cylinder is always performing the power stroke.